Hello, I'm Jody Gale, Extension Agent with Utah State University Extension Service. Thank you for joining us today. We're going to be demonstrating pruning on an apple tree as far as how to make cuts to lateral branches. And in earlier segments we've been discussing the different structure of an apple tree and peach trees. This particular apple tree, as you can see, has a series of 1, 2, 3, 4 main scaffold branches down low. This is referred to as the first tier. We've got some branches here in the middle. Some of these eventually will be taken out. We have our second tier that's up approximately 6 feet high that's developing well. And then finally another final tier, or a third tier, will be developed at about 8 or 9 feet high. But for purposes of this segment, we want to talk about how to make and how to decide how to make proper cuts on an apple tree. If you can notice, we have limbs that are coming out, and as described earlier, apple trees like to grow up. They don't like to grow out. So as you're deciding where to make a pruning cut, always look for a way to select limbs where the tree is growing out instead of up. This is a pretty good example right here, where we have a limb that's growing more in a, not quite a horizontal way. It has a good angle. We're some 5 feet away now from the main central leader as this tree has grown over several years. We have 3 different levels of aggressiveness that we can take. This one is not growing really well. This is kind of the main center part of the limb. This is one that's an obvious, easy decision to make to trim away, represented by this upper ribbon. This second ribbon would be the next level of aggressiveness. We have a pretty nice limb here. It's growing kind of up. It is going out on a little bit of an angle, which is desirable, and it's got a lot of good vigorous growth. From this point right here to the tip of this limb, which is approximately 30 to 32 inches long, represented by this very orange color on this particular tree, not orange, but kind of purple color. This is the wood that grew from last year. So that's one way to determine if your tree is healthy and growing vigorously, if it's been adequately watered and adequately fertilized, is if you have this good growth. But it also means that there's quite a bit of material that has to be pruned away the following year. Now, if we really want to get aggressive, this limb is coming out, and we could make this third cut and develop this, and this would further bring the center direction of this limb out of the way. So let's take this in stages. I'd like to give myself options as I prune. Sometimes I won't take the most aggressive option until I have a chance to look at it, to kind of see how it looks, to see if I like it, to see if it kind of fits the criteria of pruning and developing good scaffold limbs. So I'm going to start with this first cut here. This is the weak one that tends to be growing in the center and it's going up. That's made a nice difference as this limb is growing back towards the camera. Okay, now for a little different direction of view on these 3 options that we've been describing. This cut is the cut where we've taken the obvious one and removed this center leader or main center direction for this limb and eliminated that part. We've got this one on a good, nice angle coming out away from the tree, and this is still kind of vertical. We have this limb that's growing to us. So again, I like to give myself some options. Taking the hook side of the lopper, I'm going to loop it over the top of this limb, this representing a lateral branch, which is what you want to cut to. And I'm going to take this the center part of the limb out. And then take a look at this and see what it looks like. Pruning away some of the small wood here, selecting a bud right here that will grow out. Take a quick look at it, and I still don't like it. There's too much vertical growth. This is a nice limb, bringing the angle that you would like to have on that limb more out away from the center part of the tree. By eliminating this part, this will allow more sunlight to get down in the tree during the course of the growing season, which helps to develop better apple coloration. So we'll take the third option right here, which is a rather aggressive cut. You'll notice how this has opened this up. We've got a good lateral branch here that's coming out. This is quite vertical, this is quite vertical, so we're going to make the last cut here, eliminating that vertical growth. This part is too vertical, but I'm going to select a bud on the underneath side of the limb that's growing in this orientation. We can start clear up here, but the higher you make that bud cut, the higher the fruit will be one day. So I like to come down fairly low. This again is a fairly aggressive cut here. but I've got a good bud here, and I've got another good bud here that will force the growth to come out and keep that limb on a good angle coming out away from the center part of the tree. So this is how to make the cut on using lateral branches and lateral buds. Of all of the pruning techniques and of all of the things that are discussed in these segments, this particular principle of cutting to a lateral branch or cutting to a lateral bud is the most important criteria as you're making a decision on where to cut, because literally choosing the individual buds is the way to choose the direction that tree limb will one day grow. This tree has been pruned during its life with that concept. It's allowed it to be a somewhat open tree with the limbs coming out on reasonably good angles. No tree is perfect, but this allows those angles to, or the wide crotch angles to develop in the tree, and by creating good angles on trees, the limbs tend to be bigger in diameter, they tend to be stronger, they tend to be shorter and stockier is perhaps a way to describe, and they're much stronger to be able to withstand a very heavy fruit load. Thank you for joining us for this segment of pruning in the home orchard. Thank you.